Okay, we're going to take a look at the quick search here. This is the search box on our homepage, and it is a tool that we have that attempts to connect all of our resources together in one place for you. So for instance, if we were to search for young um, people, oh here, how do younger people view older adults? We can get our search results here on this page, and you can see that there are 285,000 results. And you'll notice when we phrased our search, we used natural language like you would in Google. So we phrased it as a question. We included how, do, and the question mark, and got this robust set of results. Now, if you're stuck on this page, you will see a pop out asking you if you need help on chat. You can just hit no thanks to make that go away. And over here on the left, we can limit to articles, for instance, if that's what we're looking for, and hit apply filters. And then we can also limit by date. So maybe we just want to look at the last 10 years, 2012 to 2022. And so that's going to reset our search results, bring us back still 96,000, still a huge number of results, but we will look at some strategies on how to not feel overwhelmed by that. But first, let's just take a look and see if our search brought back what we were expecting. So the evaluation of creative ideas in older and younger adults. Okay. All right, let's see. Decision-making competence in older adults. Validity of attention, self-reports in younger and older adults. And as I scroll through this first page, I'm thinking that this isn't exactly what I want to get from this search result. And so we can redo our search, and we can maybe, instead of putting that whole question in there, let's just try throwing in some keywords. So younger people, perception, older adults. And when we change our search, we reset those filters that we used at the beginning. So we do have to go back and click on articles and change the date again. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are doing this yourself. And then at the top here, you can see that we're back down to about 82,000. So ethical perceptions towards real world use of companion robots. Okay. So this is the actual eye perception. Let's see, emotional expressions affect perceptions of younger and older adults, perceptions of sadness. So we're still not quite getting exactly what we want. And one thing that I usually caution people about the quick search is that it is searching across all disciplines. So if you're in the College of Health and Human Services, you are getting things from our allied health collection, but you're also getting things from psychology, you're getting things from English, you're getting things from education. And so sometimes this big database is not always your first choice. So in the next video, we will be looking at specific databases that you could go to that help you narrow down your search just by the fact that they only include materials that covered allied health collections and not any of those other disciplines. But to finish up here, looking at the quick search, some things to really consider is that you can type in here very casually. Like I said before, that natural language question you can try putting in here. I just put in words and I didn't use ands or ors or quotation marks or anything you might have heard of before for searching. And we can change it very easily. And you can see that I put in older adults and it is including older people. So it is looking for some synonyms for you. Sometimes that's really helpful. And sometimes that is not, because then we realize, oh, the database means one thing and I'm meaning a different thing. So I need to figure out how to change my terminology to reflect this. So for instance, um, maybe I might change this to younger nurses' perceptions of older adult patients. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I joke often that spelling things correctly is your first line of defense for getting a good set of search results. Now you can see this is a much smaller search result because we haven't even limited to articles and we haven't even limited to our date, and we still have way fewer. And that's because we use much more specific terms. And then let's see, before we limit, I do want to point out and see if there are any other books or other things that come up, and there aren't in this case. Right now, there's just articles on this first page, but you can see that our search results are broken up that include dissertations and book chapters. So we're going to click on articles. And then again, we're going to limit by date, and that will start to limit our search results even further. So now we have about half, we have 15,000 results. Now, like I said earlier, this is a huge number of results. This is overwhelming to look at, but they come to us in our result list here in order of relevance, how the algorithm behind the scenes weights what you've put in here. So they weight these first terms more heavily than the later terms in your search. It also looks for synonyms. So we put older adults this time, but we might get older people, older nurses here. So it is kind of putting these words together in different ways. And so that is what determines how we see the results and why some come up first and some might come up later. So this might help us come up with some other keywords, but there's just 10 on the first page. And then you can click see more results. And there are 10 on the next page. And by the time you're at pages 4 and 5 and 6, you've looked at 40 or 50 or 60 different articles. At that point, you can start to determine, okay, it's time for me to try a new search. I've looked, everything has stopped being relevant to me as I keep going on to pages. Or perhaps I'm on page 5, nothing yet has been relevant. Now it's time to adjust my search again. And so these are some things you should think about and go, okay, is it my terms that I've used in my search? Is it that this tool is searching across so many different disciplines? Is it that nobody's published on this topic? And start to think about why or how you might need to change your search. And then that's when you can also reach out to your instructor or reach out to me for additional help. And so before we wrap up this video on the quick search, I'm just going to point out how you actually access these materials. So you can click right here, and everything that should come up in the search, I say sure should because it's technology and it might not, are things that you can access immediately through our collections. So here in the middle of the screen, you'll say view it, you'll click on there, you might be asked to log in, and then go through all those steps. If you're already logged in somewhere, then you might not get logged in. If you're on campus Wi-Fi, you might not be asked to log in. So that's something just to keep in mind, that you might be asked to log in, you might not, but from there you should be taken to this page, and here's a PDF. And it might look different, but you should find somewhere on the page where it says PDF free to read. The other things to consider are and to look at are some of these little notations here that you might see. When you click on the article, you can also find a little bit more information. Down here, some of the subject terms, maybe that will help you. There's oftentimes the abstract of the article, so that might help you decide if it's something you want to look at before you go through all these steps. And some other kind of power user type of things to keep in mind is you can actually sign in with your NAU or CCC credentials. And now I am logged in. Now I can do something like I could pin this and it goes up here to my pinned list of favorites. And you can see things that I have saved before. You can save the whole search. I haven't done that, so we can go back and do that. Let's go back right here, save query. It's a very old-timey library term, but that's saving your search. And you could turn on notifications, which means you might get an email when something new is added to this specific search criteria. Articles published from 2012 to 2022 that talk about younger nurses' perceptions of older adults. And so that will be here under saved searches. You can go under your search history and see this only saves ones that you've done since you've been logged in this session. And there are labels you could add if you selected these things, like I want this to have this specific label and have it be labeled for your particular class. You could email this citation to a classmate if you're working together. You can click on these quotation marks here to get citation information. We do have this nice reminder here. Check your citations for accuracy because this is only as smart as the information it's pulling from the database. And sometimes that means things will be capitalized or not. And those are things to keep your eye out for. So that is the introduction to finding resources using the quick search on the library's homepage.